Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. People is entering, but we are gonna start on time. My name is Judith Romera. I'm a member of the Barcelona International Welcome team at Barcelona City Council. Barcelona International Welcome, maybe you know, is a web platform with information and resources for international people coming to live and work in Barcelona, work and study. Perhaps all of you are students that came to Barcelona to make a master's degree, other studies, and you found interest in Barcelona, and maybe you are planning to stay, find a job, or creating a business, and you need information about immigration, visas, and how to stay legally in Spain, in Barcelona. That's why we have organized this event to give you expert information on this issue. You should know that this session is being recorded, so later you will be able to see it again, watch it again, see you have any doubts. We have quite a lot of people. We have many registered participants. And at the end of the explanation, there will be time for questions and answers. But as we are so many people, we will not open mics, and we kindly ask you to write down your questions in the section Q&A at the bottom of your screen. You will be able to write down your questions. Please do it short and direct, so we will have time at the end to reply as many questions as possible. Apart from these logistics and organizational issues, let's start. I'm going to introduce our speaker today. We are very glad to have the collaboration of Jambrone and Partners. This is an international law firm with a solid experience and have different office in a range of jurisdictions. They have office in different countries. And this company offers expert advice, and with a claim that I like very much, global perspective and local insight. And today we have a representative from Barcelona office, which is Blanca Pamies. Of course, she's a lawyer and she's expert on immigration, what we are handling today. So in her professional life, she's dealing with visas, permit, in different profiles, and of course also for students. So we are very lucky to have Blanca with us, and that's it. I give the floor to her. So thank you so much, Blanca.
Hello everybody. So as Judith said, I'm Blanca. I come from Jambrone, and there's an office also here in Barcelona. I'm an immigration lawyer, and today we will start with the student visa webinar. I will share now my screen for the presentation. Just one second. Okay. So as Judy said, the aim of this webinar is to explain you about the student visa and the student authorization, and also for ways for you to also stay in Spain, as well as how to work here either during the authorization or after you have finished your studies. So the first thing I want to explain to you are some general aspects regarding the student visa and the student authorization, and it is directed for non-EU students who want to come to Spain to study and later on to stay in Spain, either to keep studying or to work in another area. There's a difference between a visa and an authorization. A visa is what you obtain from the consulate, from the Spanish consulate of your area of residence, and it allows you to enter the Spanish territory. However, the authorization is actually what you request once you are in the Spanish territory to study or to work. So, as I explained, the student visa allows you to stay over 90 days, which are what we call the Schengen days. So, allows you to stay over those 90 days in order for you to study here. It's very important. Well, the student visa or the student authorization includes several points, such as university degrees, master's programs, even volunteering or mobility programs. However, some of them have a very specific requirements that we will not go through them today, but obviously if you have any questions, you can ask later. And well, one thing that is very important about the student visa and the student authorization that for me is a key requirement is that the institution where you will be studying the studies, it has to be a recognized center, university, um, or institution in Spain, because if not, it most likely be denied. In my experience, for example, we have had cases of this. Also, the student visa now with these new technologies also allows you to either study face to face, so go to the classes, or even in a hybrid mode. Some of the documents that you will need will be, for example, the admission letter. This is the most important requirement. And as I said, it needs to be a recognized institution. Also very important is a valid passport. You can't come without with an expired passport. Also proof of entry that you entered Spain. Also, financial proof for the year that you will be here. It's more or less around, it's a bit less, but I always recommend that minimum 8,000 euros per year needs to be proven either with bank statement, for example, or even your families can support you with this financial, because we understand that as a student, it's a bit difficult to have like this amount. Also, what would be very, very helpful for your applications would be that you have proof of accommodation either at the residence of the university or a rental place. Health insurance also is very important. And the last two requirements, general requirements regarding the documentation, would be the medical certificate, which needs to be done under the International Health Regulations of 2005. It can be either done in Spain by a Spanish doctor or with your local doctor at your country of origin. In case if it's done in your country of origin, it will need to be apostilled and translated into Spanish if it's not a Spanish speaking country. Also, if the student is over 18, you will also need criminal records from the places you have been living for the past 5 years, also apostilled and translated into Spanish. As I explained before, there's two types of student visa authorization. There's the student visa, which is requested at the Spanish consulate, and it has a very important requirement also that I want to mention as my experience and the experience that I have had with clients, is that you need to prepare all of this documentation way before you start the program. This is because if not, you have to obtain everything, which can take several months. And also, the process times of consulates may take about 1 to 3 months for them to have the visa approved. Therefore, if you start the program very early on, you won't have time to start the program on time. So, therefore, I really, really recommend that you obtain all of those documents way before. And also, another option to apply for the visa would be applying from Spain. You would have to come here as a tourist and apply on your first 60 Schengen days. This is extremely important as well, because if not, the application will be denied. This is why before I mentioned that you have to have a valid passport with the stamp that you have entered the Schengen area. And also with, well, yeah, the proof of entry, it can be the travel ticket, or even if you go by car, it can be the border ticket. After you have the visa granted, then you depending on whether if the visa or the authorization is for over 6 months, you will have to get the TA card, which is the identity card for foreigners, and you will have to obtain all of the documentation that I listed here. If you have asked your visa at the consulate, you will have to enter Spain and go to the police station of the province that you will be staying with the visa stamped on your passport. And if you have asked for the authorization in Spain, you will need to bring the proof that you have obtained this authorization. And basically, you have to get an appointment, and it takes around 40 days to have it ready. So, what happens once you have finished your studies? Well, as I said, the validity of the visa or the authorization lasts as long as the studies. However, with a maximum of 1 year. Therefore, let's say that you want to study a 4-year course in Spain, you have to renew it every year. And also, as we explained before, it's very important that you apply 2 months before the expiry date and you have everything planned before it expires, because if not, you will have to go back to your country and start the process again. Also, it's very important that many of you, I'm sure that you will be coming here to study Spanish, for example, or another language like Catalan, for example. It's very important that for these courses, you have to pass the course that you're studying. You are not allowed to renew your visa or your authorization if you have not passed the previous course. So now we will be entering regarding the work situation and how you can actually stay in Spain, and also how you can work. There's with the new immigration regulation, you can actually work in Spain while you have your authorization, as in a public or private entity. And you can either work as employee or self-employment. However, I must say that in my experience, self-employment it's quite difficult, because you have to prove a lot of more documentation. Basically, you have to prove that your business, or the business that you want to start, is very relevant, and you have the investment to do so. Therefore, what most students do is they usually get they work as an employee. And the important thing is that the work activity may not exceed 30 hours per week. This is very important. And also that it's compatible with your studies. So we don't have to forget that you came here to study, which is the aim and why the visa was granted or the authorization was granted. Obviously, you can work as well, but you don't need to forget that it's best to focus on your studies as well as working, but that it has to be compatible. Also, this is very important to have in mind, that if you focus on your work and not in your studies, you may not be able then to renew your authorization. So it's very important that you stay within that line. After your studies are over, thanks to the new immigration regulations, students can now switch from their student visa or authorization or permit to a work permit with only 1 year of residence. It's not technically residence, it's stay. However, it's after only 1 year of stay in Spain. Before it was 3 years, now they have changed it. And you have several options. It can be either as an employee, as a self-employed, as a high qualified employee, residence for job seeking, or even internship residence. As an employee, basically, this would mean that you have an employer that wants to work with you and wants to offer you a work contract. And it's very important as a requirement that you have completed your studies, because you will have to prove that with your title degree to the immigration office. Also, it's very important that you have the signed employment contract that meets all the legal requirements. This is usually done automatically by the employer, but you have to have in mind that. And also the employer needs to be a business that is financially solvent and is up to date with all their obligations, such as social security, taxation, etc. And basically how the process works is that you have to apply, well, the employer or their legal representation will have to apply for this authorization at the immigration office of the area that you will be working in. It needs to be done 60 days before, like we said before, 2 months before it expires the authorization, or even after 90 days after this authorization. However, as lawyers, we always recommend that this is done way before the authorization expired, just in case you are not in the middle. And the administration, well, the immigration office has 3 months for it to decide if you have met all the requirements and you have submitted all the documents. And if there is no response, it will mean that it's denied by administrative silence. However, well, there's many rules about this, but you can always appeal if you have submitted all the required documents. But this would be like further process. Also, once you have this authorization approved, you will have to go to the police station again and change your TA card, because you will have one from your studies, and then it will be changed to this new authorization, which will last as long as the contract is, but usually for 1 year, more or less. Another option would be to come as a self-employed. Well, to stay as a self-employed. Again, you have to prove that you have successfully completed all your studies, that you don't have any criminal records in Spain, that you have submitted all the requirements of fees, taxes, etc. And also, the important thing about this one, that it's very different to the employee one, and that I advanced it before, is that you have to prove that you have the possession of training and also professional qualification to uh, start a business in Spain on your own. This can be a bit difficult and tricky to prove, and we usually recommend, and also it's kind of stated in the immigration regulations, that a business plan submitted by a specific self-employed federation, you can submit this business plan to this federation, and they will study it and see if it's positive. Then if it's positive, they will issue this positive report, and with that and the rest of the required documents that you can see here, it's more easy to get this kind of authorization. It works the same as the other one. You have to also submit it at the immigration office where of the area that you will work. It also needs to be applied 60 days before or 90 days after. Again, we always recommend that it's done before. And if it's submitted on time, do not worry, because while the application is pending, you can stay in Spain. It's not like you have to go back. And also, the administration has 3 months to process it. And if there is no response, then it will be considered denied. And then you will have to go back. But again, if you submit everything, it shouldn't be a problem. And once again, you will have to go to the police station and change your TA card. Another option, which is a lot more specific, would be as a high qualified employee. A high qualified employee would be someone that works in a very specific area, such as technology area or sectors in the employment world. For this one, you would have to prove more or less the same as the other ones, but there's this specific rule that you have to prove that you have this higher education. So it can't be any that you have studied any studies. It has to be a higher education degree, or exceptionally 5 years of relevant professional experience. You need 100% to prove that in order to get this kind of authorization. If not, it most likely be denied. And also the rest of the requirements are more or less the same, as well as the documentation. They all have their own application form, copy of your full passport, also proof of professional qualification, as I said, also all the identification documents of the company that you will be working for. There's needs to be 100% assigned work contract, that some of them even ask for a minimum salary. And also, if you have submitted the previous authorization at the consulate, so you came here with a student visa, not a student authorization, you will also have to submit the criminal records. The procedure, it also works the same. You will have, well, the employer will have to submit it at the immigration office. The application window, it's the same, 60 days before or 90 days after. It will also, while the application is pending, let you stay in Spain. And the processing time this time is of 45 days, but if the administration does not respond on time, then it will also mean that it's denied by negative silence. Another new, kind of new residency permit that I think it will be very interesting for all of you is the residency permit for job seeking. This one is it's aimed for university students. So it has to be level 6, which is university degree, master's, for example. If you have completed all of these, then you can stay in Spain for up to 24 months, therefore more or less 2 years, to search for employment. In my experience, I believe that this is a good option, because if you're not sure or you haven't had time in the year that you will be here studying to look for a job, this is the perfect residency permit. The application must submit it again 60 days before, 90 days after. And the important thing about this residency permit, since you won't have a work contract with a salary, it's important that you have to prove that you have sufficient financial means, which are the same as the student authorization, 100% of the Aprèn, which at the moment in 2025, it's around 8,000 euros per year. So the same as the student authorization. You also have to have a health insurance with all the coverage, as we said before, that it has to be renewed, no co-payments, etc. The payment of the corresponding tax, and also proof of successful completion of the studies that you studied before. So the university degree, the master's, whatever you will be studying here. It will be submitted in the government delegation, it says here, but it's an immigration online website, and it can either be submitted by the foreigner, the student, or by a legal representative, such as a lawyer, for example. It has to be, the administration has to respond in 20 working days, so it's way less than the other ones. And if they don't respond, it's positive silence, therefore you will be allowed to stay here. And once it's approved, also you have to obtain a new tier card. So let's say that you have this residency permit and you find a job within these 24 months, then you will have to change your authorization following the instructions that we said before. If you are applying as an employee, you will have to get all of the documents that I said before, and following all the immigration laws, basically all the requirements and all the documents that are stated there. Finally, a new residency permit, for example, would be also for internship. This is meant for foreigners who want to live in Spain and have, to reside actually in Spain and have gotten an internship agreement or contract in order to improve knowledge, practice, and experience of professional environment. The requirements are the same as before. It needs to be obtained only by higher education degree students and in the 2 years after they have obtained this degree. Therefore, let's say that you are a student that have obtained the degree 5 years in the last 5 years, you won't be able to apply for this. It needs to be 2 years after you have graduated. Let's say it like this. And the maximum duration of this can be of a year. And also you will have to prove that you have obtained the title. This is very important to prove when you have obtained it, your passport, the other documentation regarding the institution or the employer. And also, there's some differences between if there's an internship agreement or an internship contract. If it's an internship agreement, it will have to describe, well, to have all the description, duration, conditions, etc. And if it's an internship contract, it will need to be signed by both parties as a normal contract, work contract. The procedure for this one, it has to be also submitted by the employer at the immigration office of the area that it will take place. And it takes 30 days to be resolved. And if the administration does not say anything, it will mean that it's approved by positive silence. Also, here it says that it's maximum duration of 1 year. Therefore, you will have to also obtain a TA card. And yeah, and the last two options that I present to you are quite different, and in my opinion are a bit more difficult as a student. It's not difficult if you are like foreigners that come to Spain, but as a student, in my opinion, it's a bit more complicated, because basically, for example, for the entrepreneurship, basically it means that foreigners that want to come to Spain or that already have a stay permit, like for example that you have a stay permit as a student and want to stay, can do that if they start, develop, or manage an economic activity of entrepreneurship in Spain. There is no minimum of investment. However, the special part about this one is that it needs to be a very innovative or special economic interest for Spain. Therefore, this is very difficult to prove so when you explain it, it's very appealing. However, in the practice, in my opinion, I think it's a bit more difficult. And another option to do that, if you want to start your own business, would be to do it as a self-employed, maybe. And another option, which is very common nowadays, and you may have seen it everywhere, it's the digital nomad visa. The digital nomad visa, it's a very good option if you want to work in Spain. However, the tricky part is that you can work in Spain remotely for a company that is located outside the national territory. It can't be a Spanish company. It needs to be, for example, many of the foreigners, what they do is that they work for their company of their country of origin. They have allowed them to work remotely in Spain. They come here, they get their authorization, and depending on the case, they are able to stay either for 1 year or for 2 years. So it kind of depends. And in my part, this would be the end of the presentation. Thank you for your attention. I know that it may be a lot of information at the moment. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Judith will start to look at the chat to see all of your questions.
Yeah, in fact, Blanca, we have plenty of questions. There are questions in the Q&A section and also in the chat. As we asked at the beginning, we'll start with Q&A, and we have time, we'll go also to the chat. I remind you that maybe I didn't tell at the beginning, this presentation that Blanca has prepared will be sent today afterwards to all the participants, so you can check the presentation. And also the session is recorded, so we will send to all the participants the link when the video is is finished, maybe next week, because it will be edited a bit. So you will be able to review the video and also to check the presentation. So, well, let's start with the questions. I'm going to go through the questions. The first one is a bit tricky, and it goes that they have a FI contract right now. My contract will end 31st May. I have right to apply for PARO, which is the employment subsidy in Spain. I need to extend my residence permit as a PhD studies, has not finished yet. So I can extend after receiving PARO, and I can show PARO as a financial means. Thank you very much. So it wants to use the unemployment benefit as a financial means proof. I think this is not allowed, but Blanca.
Yeah, I would say the same. In my opinion, I think that it would. So I'm reading the question again. Sorry. I have to. I need to. I'm sure that even I understand what you mean now. However, I don't think that you are able to do so. If not, you could also ask maybe for, it can even be your family that supports you, gives you some financial credit, and you can prove this as financial means. You don't have to prove it, as I said, you don't have to prove it on your own. It can be that someone in your family or even friends can help you with that. So in my opinion, I think it would be that, but obviously this is a very specific case.
Yeah.
Therefore, I think that we would have to see it very detailing. Of course, if you, I'm sure that, I don't know if they will tell you, but if not, you can always email me and we can discuss this. I think that it's a bit tricky. We
Okay.
will. Yeah.
Let's go for more general questions because this is quite specific. Maria Antonia Gonzalez says, I'm currently studying my second year of Erasmus Mundus Master in Spain. I have an authorization to stay since my residence permit is issued by Austria. I would like to know what option do I have after my studies end, taking into account I want to work in Spain. She's from Colombia and has and just have the authorization, not the TA.
Okay, so you have the authorization but not the TA. We would have to see that as well of how long. So you have been studying here for 2 years, I assume. It's a bit tricky that you don't have a TA card, in my opinion. Like, it's actually compulsory after 1 year that you have it at least. If not, if you want to work in Spain, we may be able to prove that since you have been studying here, that you may be able to change your residency. As I said, that the option to change it to a work permit if you follow all of the requirements. Yeah, I think that you could do that.
Okay, an anonymous attendee is asking about the kind of job offer, the contract he or she should receive to be
As a
able to,
student.
yeah, as a student, and say how many hours, how long, what kind of a single contract, or he or she can have two contracts.
So it's actually not specified how many contracts can you obtain, as long as, in my opinion, as long as it doesn't interfere, as I said, in the studies, and also that the total hours should be 30 hours in total. I think it could be fine. However, we always recommend that you work in the area that you are studying, and also I think that maybe work in a single place, also that it's compatible with the rest of your studies. So I think that it would be best, as long as you meet all the requirements and also the 30-hour permit per week, then it should be fine.
Well, the question was after the studies. So it was after my studies, which contract should I get? to get.
Oh, sorry. I thought that it meant while you are a
No,
student.
no.
Oh, okay. So after your studies, you mean changing your.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that you can, well, to obtain the authorization, I think that it would be best to apply for a single work contract. So once you have the TA card, then you can apply whichever contract or whichever employment you want. And the hours, it's like a normal Spanish employee. Therefore, I think the maximum at the moment is 40 hours. So this is how many hours it could be.
Okay, now there's a question that you have repeated so much, but maybe we need to repeat it again. How far in advance should I start the process of changing my permit from the study permit to a work permit?
Yeah, as I said, you need to do it at least 2 months before your study permit ends, because you have to gather all the information, all the documents, and also, in my opinion, I think it would be best if you do it as soon as possible. So, 2 months before your authorization is about to end, then you can start the process.
Okay, now someone from India, maybe I don't pronounce well the name, Sebastian. She's currently pursuing a second year in architecture college. His question is, my studies is not, I'm sorry, has moved. Poo, 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 poo. Sorry, it has been changed. So he has a problem because his college was not in the list. I
Of
think,
the, yeah,
yeah.
of the registration. Yeah, I see the question. So, can I still apply for the job research search visa? Well, technically, there's with this, it would be tricky, to be honest. Like, I would recommend. Oh, it has disappeared. Okay, so I would recommend that you either change your studies, because if it's not listed under the registration, you won't be able to get a student visa or a student authorization and then change it into a job permit, a job seeker permit. Another option would be, well, there's a new regulation, but this is very specific. There's a new regulation coming in May, that there's a specific visa that you can come to Spain to search, but it's only for very specific cases. Therefore, I think that the best option would be if you change the place of where you will be studying.
There's a question about where can I check this list of entities that are allowed for job seeking visa. There's a question regarding the basically all the public universities are agree, and they have to have like the approval of the Ministry of Education in Spain. But I don't know if
Exactly.
there's a specific list, Blanca, so they can check.
We check it at the RUCT. We check it there. It's a
Okay.
website from the Spanish administration, and if you enter the place that you will be studying, there you can check.
Okay. Well, Michelle is asking, maybe it's an old TA, because he says, my TA, it says I'm not authorized to work, but this is a mistake, according to him. I'm not allowed to work. How do I get this change so he can work?
Okay. I think that I don't understand, like, why they would not
Maybe it's
put
because it
in.
was old, because there was a change 2 years ago that students, maybe it's because an old entry,
Oh,
Blanca?
maybe, yeah, maybe because she's been studying, and now you're, well, it's not, I think that maybe you're, it's a bit confused. It's a bit confusing. Basically, the TA card for studying, it does not say that you are allowed to work. You would have to apply for another authorization, which would kind of link to this, to the initial authorization. Therefore, it does not mean that you are allowed to work. I don't know if you refer to that. Um, yeah. I lost the question. Sorry. I don't know if you refer to that, but if not, if it's actually that you wanted to work and it says that you're not allowed, then maybe you would have to apply again or go to the police station with all the required documents and say that you have it and you and the authorization and that you are technically allowed to work.
Yeah, sometimes, Blanca, we receive people that accordingly the visa or the authorization has to last all the studies, but sometimes in some
Exactly.
consulates they make it shorter, and that's a mistake. So
Yeah,
they
you
have,
have to apply for an extension. Yes.
yeah. Well, Murad is asking about, he says Murad is currently a master's degree student and have started a 6-month internship with a company. However, his TE will expire by the time the internship is completed. If the company wishes to hire him long term, would they need to sponsor me for a work permit, or does my internship provide any legal advantages for extending my stay or obtaining a work visa?
Well, in your case, you could do either both, like we explained, either change your permit into a working visa, a working permit, sorry, or as an internship permit, depending on what the company offers. They would have to provide you with a work contract that has all the that meets all the required legal all the legal requirements, and then you would have to apply for this new authorization.
Okay. Well, Maria Antonia is asking about your company. The company is Jambrone and Partners, and you will receive the document, the presentation, so we'll know all the details to contact Blanca if you want.
Yes, you can
Um,
always email me if you have any questions.
Okay. Another question you already have explained in your presentation, but just repeat. He said, a person who has a student visa with a language course, can the person work?
Yes, they can because it's in the student visa authorization. Therefore, as I explained, it needs to be 30 hours maximum and compatible with your studies.
Okay, now Birs or Birce, I don't know how to pronounce. I'm not a EU citizen. Currently in my second year at a language school, my plan was visa become self-employed and open my own Pilates studio, which is my ultimate goal. However, I understand that new laws will restrict me from doing so after May because it is language school. What are my options to stay in Spain legally and start a business?
Yeah, so basically, as I explained, for the self-employed permit, you have to prove that you have the qualifications to do so. Therefore, in your case, what I would do is to go back to your country and apply directly for a self-employed visa. Like, forget about the student visa that you have and apply directly for the self-employed, because then you won't have to prove all of the that you have completed your courses, because as you said, you were studying languages and you want to study a business, and I don't think this would be compatible for the immigration office. Therefore, what I would recommend is that you apply for a new self-employed visa besides of all of these.
Okay, now a question in Spanish for Renata and Bárbara, que tienen la misma duda. Si mi TIE se caduca en junio y yo me gradúo en junio, ¿significa que tengo que aplicar al Immigration Office en abril mientras sigo en la universidad? ¿60 días?
Exacto, sí. Es decir, sí, exacto. Usted, si quiere seguir en la universidad, tendrá que primero aplicar otra vez como para la renewal. Exacto.
Okay. Ricardo, my student visa ends in March, but the master ends in April. Yeah, that sometimes it happens. I want to switch to job seeking visa. Do I have to renew my student visa and afterwards change to job seeking visa?
Well, what you can do, what you could do is to start the all the process for the job seeking visa or the authorization 2 months before it ends. So before March. Therefore, you need to start now, and then apply for this job seeking visa, and then continue under that authorization.
Okay. Now, Giuseppe, after his master's degree, he's planning on practicing as a psychotherapist here in Spain, virtually and in person. How do I go about opening my own practice here? What are the requirements?
Okay, if you have studied or you have professional experience on that, you could change it to the self-employed authorization that we talked about, which basically you would have to prove that you have all the legal investment to do so. If you want to open a job like a business, then you will have to also prove that you have all of this investment and you also have all the professional degrees to do so.
Okay, now an anonymous attendee says, if my residence permit as a student is only valid for 10 months due to the duration of the academic program, but I get a job, can I apply for a work permit? How can I make the transition to continue working?
Exactly. This is what we talked about. That if there's a worker, an employer, sorry, that wants to work with you, then 10 months before your student visa has expired, you can change it into this new authorization.
Okay. Can you explain how to switch from arraigo laboral? This is not really for students. To cuenta ajena, what happens if you find a job while under arraigo laboral? This is not really for students, but you can give a brief explanation.
Well, the arraigo laboral technically it's for people that are not or irregular here in Spain. Therefore, I think that it would be tricky to switch from one to another. In my opinion, I would wait until you have the permit to legally stay in Spain so that you have, I think that now it will be 2 years of continued residence in Spain as arraigo laboral. And then you can start the other part of the.
Well, then Gabriele, why, sorry, sometimes it
Yeah.
moves and I lose the questions I was reading. Sorry for that. There's so many questions. Maybe we are gonna pass a few of them because some of them are not really for students and this session is for students. But there was an interesting question. Gabriela is asking about the role of companies because it says, besides the contract, what else does the employer needs to do? It's only the contract that immigration needs because she complains that many employers don't want to sponsor some students because they complain that the process is very extensive. What do you think about it?
Yeah, about this, I think that maybe they are complaining for the if you were to apply directly for a working permit. However, the good news about this change to change it into this from the student visa to the employee authorization is that you don't have to pass from for the national employment regime. It's a bit different. It's a different process. Therefore, I don't think that maybe the employer knows about this. This is why they may complain about it, but you just need that the employment contract meets all the legal requirements stated in the law, and as an Spanish worker, like it has to be the same, and also that the employer is financially solvent, up to date with social security, and also when the time comes to also I don't know to put you also in the social security system.
Yeah. Well, there's another comment about homologation of foreign studies. This is something that is not, I don't know if you assist in your company, in Jambroni and Partners, about supporting homologation of studies. But I can tell you that in the website, Barcelona International Welcome, in procedures section, there's an explanation how to do it. It's not easy to sometimes to validate the studies.
Yeah, it might be very extensive.
Extensive, yeah, a long time to do it. now Anna is asking about the list of official universities or academic centers to get the approval for student visa. And they said, what happened if you have listed in Madrid and you have a campus in another city in Spain?
It's fine because what is important is that the university that you will be studying, it's listed under this registration. Therefore, it doesn't matter that the faculty or the building is in another city because it will be under the same university. So it's fine.
Okay, exactly. Another question is about Mariona says, I only have 6 months valid student visa and I didn't get the TIE because it was less than 6 months. But is it possible to extend her visa and still get TIE later?
Yes, you could extend it, and if it's also and if the extension also lasts more than 6 months, then you can are able to get the TA card. Yes, you are able.
Another anonymous attendee is asking, my program ends July. Would I have to apply for a job seeking visa 3 months prior to this, or could I apply in July? July, not. And
No.
use the tourist visa in meantime. Well, I think Blanca has been very clear about the period.
Yeah, it's very important that you do this before the visa that the program ends.
Well, Ricardo, does a job seeking visa allow to work in Spain, or is a sponsorship from companies still required?
No, the job seeking visa does not allow you to work. This is the aim of this visa. It allows you to search for work. It allows you to stay in Spain, well, to live in Spain while you are looking for a job, but it does not allow you to work.
Okay. Now, Rene wants to like clarification and the difference between a work permit visa and a highly qualified worker visa.
Of course. So the only thing that it's different is on the sector. The high qualified visa or the high qualified permit is for a very specific sectors, such as like normal employments, like for example, a lawyer. It's not a high qualified job. High qualified jobs usually there's a list actually that explains all of them, but it's usually related to technologies or very innovative programs and jobs.
Great, Blanca. Now, say says, I'm undergoing my master program for self-employed or entrepreneurial business visa. Does it has to be the same field of the master studies, or can I get any other business?
Yeah, it would be best basically because you have to prove that you have the professional qualifications. Therefore, if you can prove that you have completed a master's in this area and you want to become a self-employed or an entrepreneurship, then it would be much better if you do it in the same field as your master's.
Exactly. In fact, he's also the same person is also considering an indefinite contract, and she's asking if it's another sector of the master degree, it could be valid also if they get a job offer.
A job offer from different, if it's a job offer, I think it would be fine. The important thing about the same fields is usually for the self-employment or the high qualified that they require very specific fields to be completed.
Okay, I thought because it's a period, I already talked about the period. Another anonymous is saying, my T expires 31st March. Can I apply to visa renewal station now? And should I get health insurance again?
Yes, sorry, I lost the question as well. But
yes, my TIE will expire 31st March, so very soon. Can I apply for visa renewal and station now? And should I get it health insurance again?
yes, exactly. You can, and you need also to get, well, the health insurance. If you already have it and it's renewable for another year, you are covered with that. But you can apply for the renewal.
Another question. We are almost running
Out of time,
We
yeah.
are almost finishing. Maybe we will not be able to cover all the questions, but let's cover a few more. Someone is asking for the resident permit for job seeking or for high qualified professional. Is it necessary to have completed the previous year of residence?
Well, it's not technically a previous year of residence, it's actually a period of stay. There's a difference between stay and residence. Stay is only for students, residence is for employees, high qualified, self employed. So it's a bit different. Obviously, you could get, for a high qualified, for example, you could apply directly without a student authorization before. For a job seeking permit, I think. I would have to double check about that, but I think that for that I think it would be best if you would have studied already in Spain for at least a year and then change it into a job seeking permit.
Yeah. Well, another question is very interesting because I found many questions about that. For job seeking visa, can I leave Schengen and time? Sometimes they need to go home and then come back, and sometimes going back and forth is difficult at the
Yeah, it
custom.
doesn't I have never seen that it's stated like how long you actually have to stay that, because for example, for some there's no rule for that. The only thing that could be tricky, but in the job seeking visa I think it's different, that for some visas they make you stay in Spain for a period of time because of the renewal. It's not like it's compulsory, but you may have trouble then to renew it. For the job seeking visa, since it's only for one period of time, I don't think that there would be any problem, because basically you don't have to renew it again. You have to obtain another unemployment. Therefore, I think the only thing about leaving the Schengen area when you have a visa is regarding the renewal.
Okay. Another question is about the criminal records. I think you have it in your presentation, but let's review. For resident permit, for job seeking, do we need to produce a new criminal record?
Yeah, this depends on whether, if you have obtained the student visa at the consulate, you will have to get a new record check. If you have obtained it here, when you apply for it, you will allow Spain to search for this. Therefore, you won't need it. You only need it if you have applied for the student visa at the consulate. You will have to get them again.
Well, now it's a question from Gloria. I hold a passport that allows me to stay up to 90 days without visa, I guess tourist visa. If I have a student permit that ends in May and I want to stay until July, so extend a few months, can I just continue staying in Spain without doing anything? Or do I have to convert to job seeking visa? Or leave Schengen and come back to convert to a tourist? I get is this.
Yes, exactly. This is what you said. Yes.
You have to go back because if your permit ends, you are illegal then.
Yeah, you may have trouble then at the border. So
Yeah. Another question, if I find a full-time job during my studies, can I change my visa for a work visa?
yes, and actually, well, I always recommend that you can start studying. As I said, you can start studying already while you're studying, and then once you almost finish with the studies, then you can change it into a working permit with the same company.
How to extend my student visa to job seeking residence? Where should I go to extend and the requirements? Well, Blanca has explained in the presentation. Of course, all the procedures are a bit difficult,
Yeah, as I
but
explained, like everything, there's a general requirement. However, every case is different, so you can't always guarantee everything. But if you follow the law, it should be fine.
okay. Now there's Henry has a very specific question just to because it's already the end of the time. Just the last question is from Udisha. What is the minimum salary requirement for the work authorization for the visa you mentioned?
Yeah, it needs to be the minimum interprofessional minimum in Spain. So you have to follow the Spanish work regulations. It's not different than that.
Okay. I'm very sorry because there are so many questions, but we cannot really stand. Blanca, I guess you are a bit tired.
It's fine.
And you have give so many insights, tips, and good advice. I really appreciate all the participants to attend, and as we have said, you will receive the document, and you will be able to check again the video. So thank you so much for attending this event. Hope it has been useful. I don't know, Blanca, you want to say something else before
Yeah,
saying
thank
goodbye?
you. Thank you very much for your attention. I understand that it's a lot of information, but I'm here to help. So if you have any questions, you can always email me and I will answer them all.
Okay. So as I said, thank you so much, and hope you come to all of our events. This was very tough about procedures, but we also do events about enjoying the city, making friends, networking. So please check Barcelona International Welcome website, register to the newsletter to get information about our events, and hope to see face to face in next event. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.